Hey legends, so welcome along to the show. So we're going to get into some of my final thoughts on Ghostbusters Afterlife. This movie is an absolute gem. The movie is a tribute to not just Harold Ramis, but the character of Egon Spengler. Of course, it doesn't hide anything in the way that it presents itself. From the opening shot of the movie, first person we get to meet in the movie is Egon Spengler. He is moved to this small town, Shandor Mining Company, has a mine right there. Throughout the storyline we find out that's where the girders were mined out for the building in the original 1984 Ghostbusters movie. And at the beginning of the movie, he has set up a trap to take out Gozer, the Gozerian. Gozer is back in this movie. No, that is a spoiler, big spoiler, but if you've seen the trailer, you've seen the name of the mining company, you've seen Shandor above it, you know exactly where this movie's going to go. It does not apologise for what it is, it does what it does, and it does it beautifully. The movie is absolutely fantastic in my opinion. It really did. And I know this is probably going to annoy someone out there, but the movie does make up for Ghostbusters 2016. I don't want to completely write that movie off, but they did get it wrong from the start. It has to be said. And if you need any more proof than that, go check out the teaser trailer for Ghostbusters 2016. From the very beginning of that teaser trailer, there's titles on the screen. 30 years ago, shows a picture in New York City. Four scientists saved New York and narrowed all view of the city. And this summer, a new team is going to answer the call. Now, as soon as I seen that teaser trailer, as soon as we got to that part of it, the four scientists saving New York, I knew that movie was in trouble from that moment, that exact moment, because to me, they just, in those words on the screen, were just publicly saying, we don't know the source material, we don't know what we're talking about. And because the Ghostbusters weren't four scientists, there were three scientists plus an everyman. Winston Zeddemore was not a scientist. That's basic to the story. It's just, it is what it is. That's what the Ghostbusters were. Three scientists set it up. Winston came in as the extra man. They needed the help and keeping the business going. It's as simple as that. And the fact that they missed that point of the original Ghostbusters just told me there and then we've got no respect for the source material. Now, the reason why I don't want to write the film off altogether is because that movie could well have worked if it came after Ghostbusters Afterlife. The big thing about the franchise of Ghostbusters is they needed to be respectful to the material, the source material, the fan base. Now, the biggest criticism I've heard for Ghostbusters Afterlife up to this point has been the fact that it's so heavy on the keeping the fans happy. It's just, people are like, yeah, this movie's crap, it's just fan material from start to finish. That's exactly what they needed to do with the Ghostbusters to take it forward. And by the end of the film, you'll see where they leave it off at. They're setting it up at the end of Ghostbusters Afterlife. If you watch the end of the credits, there's a post-credit sequence there. There's two. There's one with Bill Murray and Sigourney Weaver, as of course Peter Venkman and Dana Barrett, and she's running them through the test that he was showing the cards at the beginning of the original Ghostbusters. She's running through that test, giving them the electric shocks. Nice little comedy moment there. That's the only thing she's in the movie for. But at the very end of the credits, there's another little sequence there between Winston and Janine, where the two of them's reminiscing about the Ghostbusters and who every person was. And it's literally setting it up that moving forward now, Winston Zeddemore is going to be like the money man behind the Ghostbusters heading forward, which is a nice little detail that I thought for Winston's character. The most successful person to come from the Ghostbusters after all this was the one guy that you wouldn't have expected to make something of himself, the everyman. Like, you had the 4 scientists, like, educated to the back teeth, and they had all the know-how and how to do everything. In the 30 years since the original Ghostbusters, Winston has moved forward, got into the business world, coined a fortune, and now he can afford to be the person that actually takes the Ghostbusters forward. So that's my point there, where I'm saying Ghostbusters 2016 would have worked if it had have came after Ghostbusters Afterlife, and had have respected the source material and not tried to set itself in a universe as the original. It's just, that is a decision that I really can't, even after all this time, like we're in 2022 now, I really don't understand how that movie actually got greenlit. Like, this is what we're thinking of doing, just wiping out the entire history of Ghostbusters, doing a full reboot, setting it up as an original. No. Those guys had have held back that movie with those few little tweaks where, this is a new team moving forward. All the fans now, after Ghostbusters Afterlife, I would be content, very, very content, for a revised version of the 2016 Ghostbusters coming out now that's set in the same universe as the original. Moving forward, all those characters. I haven't got a problem with any of the actors. There's going to be so many in the comments probably like, oh, you're anti-woman. I'm not anti-woman. I'm not anti-female. I'm up for anything that makes sense. It could be the worst film on the face of the planet. If it makes sense, it is what it is. Ghostbusters 2016, unfortunately, from day one, didn't make sense. And again, from that opening card, where it's like the 4 scientists save New York, just that is a huge tangent. Wasn't really expecting to go on, but that is the final thoughts on the Ghostbusters Afterlife. Essentially, if they had have done it right, they could have got away with this movie. Unfortunately, they went with it first and shot themselves in the foot. But they could easily now, after Afterlife, bring back all the cast from Ghostbusters 2016, make another movie of them set in the same universe. I would be on board for it, moving forward the way that they're planning to move forward. But Ghostbusters Afterlife itself is a genuine little treat. If you enjoyed the original Ghostbusters 1984, this movie here is fan service to them. Chef's kiss. It's just beautiful. Takes up the story in present day. Egon dies at the end of the movie, which was it's something that I thought I've done properly, would have worked really well, and fortunately it did. It worked very, very well to follow Egon's character in this movie. He dies in the opening sequence of the movie. It doesn't hide the fact he's in the chair after he set up a trap to essentially take out Gozer, and it backfires on him, and he hides the trap on the floor in his house. And just like the scene in the original movie where the arms burst out of the chair and grab Dana to possess her, that happens, but Egon dies in this sequence. And you see the spirit. It doesn't really confirm which one it is, whether it is Zool, the Keymaster, the Gatekeeper. They're all back. Doesn't confirm which the two it is. I think that it was Zool. But you see the spirit leaving the house and heading back towards the mine, and then you see the PKA meter below the seat, and then the little lights start to activate on it, and the musical key gives it away. Egon's ghost, at the very beginning of the film, has returned, and yes, we take up the story with his estranged daughter and her kids getting the news that he's passed away, and she's heading out to Somerville to take care of his last, as a state, essentially, whatever's left right there. And throughout the movie, McKenna Grace as the granddaughter, she is absolutely fantastic in this movie. It's just genuine good casting for the movie. She has the hardest job in the entire movie. She carries the entire film, and so good. Ant-Man is in here as well. He is brilliant in this movie, and I can't say enough good things about this film. It mirrors the original in a lot of ways. Whenever we get into the final hour of the movie, where Gozer is returning, a lot of the same stuff happens that happened in the original movie. And a lot of people would say that's lazy writing right there, but whenever you think about it, your classic ghost stories were entities that, and a lot of the classic stories, ghosts and even documented sightings and whatnot, like you would have seen a ghost or a spirit trapped in a cycle, repeating a similar process each time. It was almost like they were caught in a purgatorial role, more or less. They'd be living out their last moments over and over again for all eternity. So the fact that Gozer's coming back and doing all the same stuff and everything is in there, that tracks, it works. And of course we're waiting the entire way through the movie for the original Ghostbusters to turn up. You get a chat between McKenna Grace and Dan Aykroyd in the middle of the movie, where he tells the backstory of what happened. Egon seemed to go crazy about this coming darkness and whatnot, and nobody believed him. And one day they turn up at work and he's cleared off. He's took Ecto 1, all their ghost traps and everything. And it's been years since any of them spoken to each other. The relationships between the original Ghostbusters are fractured, especially with Egon. So it was a bit of a shock, in all fairness, whenever she calls him up. You're waiting for it to happen, but whenever she mentions Egon's name, Ray is like, Egon Spengler can rot in hell. It's the last thing you're expecting him to say. But by the end of the movie, and you see what happens, it is a tasty, genuine little treat. Like, I have watched this movie, it's very rare, has to be said, in recent years. Like, I kind of feel that the time of the classic movie has passed. Like, there are movies I can go back to time and time again, watch them over and over again, never get fed up with them. 80s movies are, a lot of 80s movies are that for me. I could watch them back to back. Let me see, Goonies as a prime example. Could watch that film, never get fed up with it. The original Ghostbusters 2 even, can watch them over and over again. It's been very rare in recent years that I've came across movies that have that rewatchability factor. And like, I enjoy the Marvel movies in a major way, the Iron Man, all those sorts of movies, but really do have to be in the mood to watch them. It's just been less and less in the recent years where you come across those movies where you have that rewatchability factor. The Ghostbusters Afterlife definitely has that. It's captured the spirit of the original in a major way. That last half hour of the movie where you're expecting the original team to turn up, they do, and they come face to face with Gozer again, and they start to do the Ray turns up and he goes over, just like in the original Ghostbusters, goes to the Gozerian in the name of the county, state, blah blah blah. I command you to leave this world immediately, or the nearest convenient parallel dimension. And Gozer's like, are you a god? And of course in the original movie he's like, no. And in this one it happens again. He turns up and he says the whole spiel, and as he finishes it, Peter's there in the sarcastic mindset. He's like, bravo. And Gozer, of course, are you a god? And Ray pauses, not sure how to answer the question. And of course, Peter and Winston stand aside there, and he's like, oh, come on, Ray. You don't remember what happened the last time. So, Venkman is in full Venkman form. They're not on screen a lot, but what you do get from them is a genuine treat in the final face-off with Gozer, and you're waiting for it the whole way through the movie. Like this, it doesn't hide the fact, as I said at the very beginning, Egon dies. You see that his ghost has come back throughout the entire movie. His spirit has been moving the pieces, essentially, and it's really weird that I use that term, because that's the first interaction between Egon's ghost and his granddaughter is through a game of chess. So he's been, just like that game of chess, he's been moving the pieces throughout the entire movie, like getting his grandchildren to continue his work, essentially. And as a strange daughter, the relationship between them two has been really, really bad. As far as she's concerned, he has never been there for her. He was obsessed with his work. But we discover everything that happens throughout this movie, like the earthquakes, the tremors and everything that's going on, is actually equipment that Egon has set up to cross the streams, essentially. Anytime Gozer tries to return, there's an automated system there ready and waiting. So as soon as the race tries to happen, this kicks in and reverses, sends them back to their own dimension. And yes, unfortunately, things don't go quite right whenever Mr. Gruberson and the kids, playing about with the ghost trap that they find in the house, release the Keymaster, or sorry, was it the Keymaster? No, I think it was the Gatekeeper that was trapped in the trap at the beginning. But of course, Gozer needing both the Keymaster and Gatekeeper can't maintain form without them, so the fact that one's gone, he's held back. And it's so good. It's so good whenever the final there's another little thing in here that is, I don't want to say it was a bash at 2016, but it was McKenna Grace's character has this thing where she is very Egon-like in how she acts and speaks and whatnot, and her thing is she's not good socialising with people, and her way of trying to deal with this is using dad jokes, essentially. And one of the biggest criticisms we had of the humour of to go back to 2016 again was the fact that they could not, and this is well documented, like, just watch a movie and you'll see what I mean. It's that style of humour where it's like, you know, we crack a joke but we don't know when to end the joke. That was a big thing in that movie. If you actually took that movie, any of the funny sequences in it, and there were a lot, don't get me wrong, there were a lot of good humour in the movie, but it was one of these ones that was just like, we're going to crack a joke, but we're not going to end the joke. We're going to try and take the same joke and stretch it as far as we can, and that happened a lot in the movie, has to be said. So the fact that this character has these little dad jokes, these little 2 or 3 liner jokes, that's just like, and some of them are, the delivery of them is great, but yes, the characters all come together and do their job at the end of the movie. The final sequence in the Battle of Gozer, every character in the film come together in the final fight to take Gozer out, and you're waiting for it the entire way through the movie. Are we going to see Egon? Are we going to get a good look at Egon? You do get to see him at the beginning of the movie. It is obviously a body double. Like, forgive me, the year Harold Ramis passed, I believe, was either 2013, 2014. Might have those years wrong. But it was just before Ghostbusters 2016, wasn't long before that. So are we going to get a good look at Spengler and the movie? And we do, and that reveal is fantastic. I'm not going to lie, I did get really emotional watching it, and even I've watched the movie at this point probably 20 times since it came out, and that part where Phoebe, his granddaughter, goes toe to toe with Gozer on her own. Gozer's blasting the electricity out of her fingers. Phoebe, proton pack in hand, the energy beams hit it in mid-air, and Gozer's pressing the power on, and she's getting the force of which the attack is coming from Gozer is pushing her back, and you see her feet scraping across the ground where she's trying to hold her own against, and then the camera pans in to her hand holding the wand of the proton pack, and you see this other hand coming in, this glowing hand coming in, and it is Egon Spengler stepping in to back up his granddaughter. I'm getting emotional even talking about it right now, and of course that leads into that shot that we're all waiting to see for 30 odd years. Was the original lineup of the Ghostbusters stand side by side, and you see all four of them standing once again united as Ghostbusters, and we get a lovely ending to the movie where Spengler gets to forgive me, that's how you know a good movie, a movie that can make you laugh out loud and make you tear up and cry at the same time. Ghostbusters Afterlife delivered in a big bad way, and at the end of the movie Egon gets to make amends with absolutely everybody, his friends and the Ghostbusters. You know, they tell him, we're sorry, we didn't believe you, and we miss you, and whatnot. And he gets to meet his grandchildren face to face, and he has a moment with the two kids, and then his daughter, thinking that he had alienated himself from her, didn't care about her. Throughout the movie, she discovers that he had this board up in the office on the farm where it had photographs of her at different stages throughout his life, so he was keeping, even though he wasn't there for her physically and emotionally because of what he was trying to do and keeping Gozer back, sacrificed everything to save the planet, essentially. She realises this, and by the end of the movie the pair of them hug each other, and there's a moment there where he smiles just before he disappears and crosses over peacefully to the afterlife. It's beautifully done. Now, there's no dialogue from Spengler in this movie, which I think was a good choice. You know, whenever he does turn up, there's a few moments there where he has the interaction between the Ghostbusters. You know, Ray, Peter and Winston, and they say their piece, and he kind of nods and doesn't reply verbally. But I think, and the way that the character was taken throughout the movie from the very beginning, where you see his spirit coming back, and he doesn't actually physically manifest to that last few moments in the movie. So as the fact that he doesn't speak, the fact that his spirit hasn't worked out how to communicate in that way, because, you know, throughout the movie he's moving lights and whatnot, you never see him, so it's like different steps in the spirit working out how to manifest in the real world. So, you know, the fact that he doesn't speak might just be a, you know, an extension of that, but I think it was a good choice that there was no words put in his mouth. Like the effort they put in there to recreate Spengler visually was fantastic. It definitely, you know, there's that uncanny valley whenever they do these sorts of things where you can see that line where it's obviously computer generated. They've never really 100% spanned that chasm so far up until now, in my opinion. But the fact that it's Egon's ghost, and he's glowing, he's kind of see through, and he's got light around him. There's enough there to hide the fact that it's computer generated, so it works. It works insanely well, and that leads into the end of the movie where we get what's going to be the possible follow up to Ghostbusters moving forward. It's a genuine treat. Love this movie. Couldn't recommend it higher. Now, I did say I was going to spoil it for you, but definitely if you haven't seen it, check it out and go into it with that frame of mind of this is what the movie had to be, this is what Ghostbusters had to do to move forward after I don't want to call 2016 a complete failure, but it wasn't a step in the right direction. Again, that's why I put it at the very beginning of this episode. If Ghostbusters 2016 had did this, or waited until after this is what we needed to move forward. 2016 Ghostbusters, if that had have come out 2 years from now, after Ghostbusters Afterlife, doing what it's done, and didn't try to be its own thing and set itself within the same universe as the original, it would have worked. It would have worked. The fans would have taken to it a lot better. Now, it's weird. We're in that time now where you have to be very, very careful on how you word things. And again, it's not the fact that it's a female cast. 100%, I'm okay with that. But they needed to come into this universe in the right way, and they didn't do that. And they, again, just to go back to that original teaser, from the very start, they had shown in that teaser alone that they didn't respect what had came before, which is what they really needed to do. That's what this movie did it beautifully well. Fantastic. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. You're going to absolutely love it. I adore this movie, and it does have that rewatchability factor. We have watched it, oh gosh, has to be 20 times at this point. After doing this video, I'm going to go watch it again.